22-year-old Garrett Curtis told coworkers he was going to meet up with someone on his lunch break. They say Curtis drove himself back to the Russ State Hospital, and it was clear he had been shot in the upper body.
Many protesters took their efforts across the highway, but it wasn't long before the protesting got out of hand.
This is the first memorial baby made 6 months ago, inspired by Kelly's daughter, Stephanie Michelle.
The Moffett overpass on East Loop 287 is the first of many changes to come. And while motorists will have to deal with the traffic headaches now, TxDOT officials say once the project is complete, East Texas drivers will be pleased. Said Decker died of natural causes and had a lengthy history of health problems.
The prosecution argued that Clark was reckless to even allow Tristan to sleep in the bed after the death of another infant. They walk up and down the streets of Wells, Bibles in hand, ready to preach a word from God.
They run around telling everybody they're going to hell. I mean, they ride their bikes all throughout the night. They're strange.
Oh, how did you end up here in East Texas?
In what?
In Texas, how did you end up here?
We're just visiting friends. I know them since a long time.
A religious group investigators believe has ties to the Church of Arlington have found an East Texas town to call home. Residents are less than thrilled.
I think it's wreaked some havoc on the town. We've made it known as far as the town, they were not welcome.
Sunday morning, investigators were called to an apartment where a 3-day-old infant died, and the 6 adults that were inside are all members of the religious group.
Officials say parents, friends, and church members prayed over the baby instead of calling the authorities.
My neighbors, they said that it sounded like a bunch of howling, and it went on for hours.
Investigators arrived on the scene, and that's when we learned that the child actually passed away on Saturday.
It's even unclear where the child was born.
But it was not in a hospital. I don't know if it was born in the apartment there or at one of the other church members' houses.
I managed to catch up with William, a member of the church. He says the group has been told to keep quiet about the situation. When I asked him about their religion, he told me to look in the New Testaments. And those teachings are the foundations of their beliefs. We looked at the Church of Arlington's website. On the surface, it doesn't appear to be radical compared to other Christian denominations. Wells resident Christy Tober says members of the group have approached her, and she finds them intimidating.
They try to force their beliefs on the weak. They make sure that they kind of talk down to you.
Up until this weekend, law enforcement has not found a reason to be concerned about this group, except for one disturbance.
There's been an incident where they had disrupted a church service at one point a couple of months back.
The situation was resolved before deputies arrived, and no report was filed. Now residents are trying to adjust to life with neighbors and make sense of Saturday's tragedy. In Wells, Francesca Washington, KTRE East Texas News 9. A display of dolls sit inside this Nacogdoches home, not for show, but for comfort.
It's the hardest thing that I do believe a parent could ever go through.
Kelly Rieger lost her 10-month-old daughter nearly 30 years ago. Now she's using the lessons she learned from her grief to help parents who've experienced a similar loss.
This is the first memorial baby made 6 months ago, inspired by Kelly's daughter, Stephanie Michelle.
Seeing her come to life again, so to speak, going step by step, I had different emotions. I cried a lot, I smiled a lot, I hugged it a lot.
Each baby takes about 2 weeks to make. From the skin to their eyes and even their hair, Rieger pays close attention to every detail, resurrecting the essence of each child.
When your arms are aching for that baby and that child, it helps.
Therapist Angela Cooper says the memorial babies are a positive outlet of grief and an unexpected method of comfort.
Use our own life experiences, especially the struggles that we've been through, to help other people. It can help give us a sense of strength and hope.
Rieger gives the personalized dolls away for free to grieving families at their request, hoping to ease the healing process and create a lasting tribute of a life cut short.
To help one grieving mother, it would be worth it, to help them not feel so much pain.
In Nacogdoches County, Francesca Washington, KTRE East Texas News 9.
They're gonna be afraid,
The death of an inmate last December has landed 2 Nacogdoches jailers on the other side of the justice system.
This is a very unfortunate circumstance for everybody involved.
Lieutenant Elizabeth Owens and Sergeant Danny Russell were indicted on June 18th for criminal negligent homicide following the death of Edwinta Deckard. Deckard was booked into the jail on misdemeanor theft charges. She became ill 2 days later. She died after being taken to a Nacogdoches hospital.
Sheriff Kerr said Deckard died of natural causes and had a lengthy history of health problems.
Criminal defense attorney John Boundy says jailers are not trained physicians and have to use their best judgment when it comes to the welfare of inmates.
Institutional setting, you have people who have legitimate medical problems and need attention, and then you've got the people who complain about everything. And jailers have to deal with that on a 24-hour-a-day basis.
The indictment states they did then and there by criminal negligence cause the death of an individual, Edwinta Deckard, by failing to provide appropriate medical care. Owens and Russell were put on suspension following the indictment, but Kearse believes failure to recognize the severity of her symptoms doesn't necessarily constitute as criminal behavior.
I've looked this case over forward and backwards, and I failed to see where those criminal elements have been met.
Kearse believes the indictment is an opportunity to work with the Commissioner's Court to increase the medical team available to the jail. In Nacogdoches, Francesca Washington, KTRE East Texas News 9.